recording. This is our first foray with Zoom. We were using the Google Meet platform before until they rudely canceled the free recording option. So,
I wonder why they did that. Do you know?
well, I think for when COVID hit, they basically upgraded everyone to the enterprise level, kind of Google G Suite. And when I looked at basically what it would cost to upgrade, it was like, I think it was like $1,500 a month for the organization. I was like, you know what? I'll just use Zoom.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So
Especially with Zoom having it just built in, right?
that's the thing. So, anyways, yeah, man, Hayden, really excited to have you on TT today. Thanks for carving out the time.
My pleasure. I'm honestly so excited.
Absolutely. So, basically, I guess just to kind of give the team members kind of an introduction, maybe just tell them a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do.
Yeah, so back in September, no, not September, I think it was like middle of 2017, I took the digital marketing certification through U Ottawa. At the time, I was a third-year student as well. Did that for, I think, 2 or 3 months. Through that, got an internship with the Red Blacks and 67s. Did that for 9 months, basically running Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, helping them strategize, overarching marketing kind of missions and things of that nature. And then switched careers to an agency in Montreal, helping them lead a project with CPAC, which is the Cable Public Affairs channel here in Ottawa. So I was working out of the CPAC office 95% of the time, go to Montreal every once in a while. Did that for 6 months, basically helping them transition from television first to social and digital first. And then through that, got some people reaching out looking for my services, and then decided to start my own business January 2019, essentially focusing Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, do a little bit of LinkedIn ads, helping businesses drive whatever business result they're looking for. Usually falls into 2 buckets, either product sales online or lead generation.
Damn, so it's been quite, so it's basically two years now you've been on your own?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So now prior to that, I think you were at University of Ottawa. I think you did the Telfer Digital Marketing Certificate as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I started in the middle of 2017 was the digital marketing cert, but I didn't actually graduate until April 2019.
Okay.
I didn't graduate with a degree. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Were you kind of into digital marketing before you took that program, or was that kind of your first foray into it?
No, I wasn't. I actually started at Carleton in 2013 in economics. Okay. After 2 years of that, realized it was like fascinating to me, but it wasn't what I wanted to dedicate my life to. And the only other thing that I liked in high school was marketing. And so I decided to apply for that passion. So I applied Carleton and U Ottawa, decided to switch up the scenery and go to U Ottawa. And right away, it felt a lot better. It felt like something I just enjoyed more. And so I was excited, but I still didn't know within digital where I wanted to go. And I think a lot of things in life are kind of, the universe kind of puts things into your life. And I got an email by accident for the digital marketing certification. Yeah. And the reason I say by accident was because it was for grad students. And at the time I was a third-year student. So I emailed them back and was like, hey, this sounds really fascinating, but I'm not a grad student. And they're like, it's the first time we're running it, so apply and see what happens. And so that's what happened. And since it's a partnership with Social, an agency here in Ottawa, they basically said, I don't know if they still do this, but they had 8 companies that were looking for interns. And they're like, if you go through the certification, we guarantee you an interview at up to 3 of these companies. So for me, it was like, okay, this is an interesting opportunity to gain some real life experience, which I thought in my opinion would be the separator for me when I graduated with my degree to help me get that job. Absolutely. That's huge. So I guess part of the internship you ended up going to, was it OSEG? Yeah. So that was, I went to OSEG and basically worked on the Red Blacks and 67 stuff mostly. A little bit of concerts and events with Google ads, but that was really the scope of it. Sorry, Hayden, give me 1 sec. I'm having technical, you keep cutting out. Give me 1 sec. Yeah, no worries. Try something out here. My bad. Sorry, you keep cutting out, and my audio is connected to my monitor, so. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Excuse me if this keeps happening. Okay, so you went to OSEG, you did some stuff there. So what was your first kind of role there? Like what kind of stuff were you doing? Were you helping with, like, I guess, the marketing, or was it more in sales? What kind of stuff were you doing? Yeah, so it was in the marketing department. Thinking back, I don't actually remember exactly where I started in there, but I fell into doing the paid advertising because I think as an intern, they were kind of like, what do you want to learn? You
Mhm.
know, we have all these different things going on. Where can we place you to kind of give you that knowledge? And for me, I was like, let me try some different stuff, but I ended up just having an affinity towards the paid ad side.
Mhm.
Um, and so a lot of the times we would kind of strategize as a group, but then I would be the guy that would then go off and start to implement it.
Yeah.
As they saw, I had a fascination with it. They kind of gave me a little bit more rope to do my own thing. I was the guy who like would go home and YouTube different strategies and all these different things. And then I'd come to them with them. And I don't even think they were really listening to me, but they were more just like, this kid clearly is excited. Let's just like, let him do it and see what happens. And
Yeah.
so it was nice because I got to kind of sharpen my sword they had a big enough budget that you can try a lot of different things, get that data. And that allowed me to
Yeah.
get that experience.
Okay. And what was your first approach to, like, did they have anything, or you just kind of took what they had and kind of worked with it and did some testing? Like, what was your approach there?
My approach, so it's funny. Initially, they were running a lot of brand awareness campaigns. That
Mm.
was the optimized objective.
Mm.
As I learned more, I understood that like we should be optimizing for conversions because the
Yeah.
pixel has so much data on it.
Mm.
And so we started moving towards that and showing the true business result. I don't even think they knew when I went in there that you can see return on investment within Facebook, right? Like they're just such a big org that, and like the amount they were spending on social was so low that they didn't really care about it. It was more of
Yeah,
like just checking the box.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, for them, like there's not a ton of creative control in the sense of it's already kind of planned out ahead of time. They have the graphics, they have the videos made, they have the themes of the event, and
Mm.
so it's more like here's the tools, just go execute it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Interesting. So you did that for what, about a year or something like that. Then you ended up, you mentioned
yeah,
you went to Montreal, was it, you were saying?
yeah. So for me, when I was 21 at the time, and all I wanted to do was get as much experience as possible and learn. And at OSEG, kind of like I said, like I was just doing the paid media amplification, not really the strategy or any of this stuff. So I felt like it was getting cyclical. Like every campaign was just like almost doing the same thing because they'd boxed it in so much, which rightfully so they should have. But I wanted that next challenge, right? And so kind of a part I skipped out on was I started doing a bit of consulting for some restaurants locally. And I really enjoyed the consulting because I had my hand on everything. I could say, okay, branding wise, let's do this. Organically on social, let's do this. Let's test amplifying this. Maybe let's set up some email marketing. Like they would allow me to just kind of see the whole scope. And I really enjoyed having a pulse on the whole thing.
Mhm.
And so I reached out to one of my profs at the time who had been a marketing consultant before and
Mhm.
asked him to go for coffee and just kind of pick his brain and see how he got into it and the steps I would have to take. And through that, once again, kind of the universe, in my opinion, 3 weeks later, he got an email to do a big project for this agency in Montreal. And he was basically like, I'm a prof now, I don't have the time, but I know someone who's looking for an opportunity like this. And he connected me, went through the interview process, and that's how that happened.
Nice. And what was that role?
It was, I don't even remember what the formal title was, but basically I went into CPAC
Yeah.
and I just had to craft the overarching strategy of how to shift from television first to digital first.
Wow.
And they would support me with all the stuff that I needed, right? So if I needed graphics made, or if I needed a team to think about this or that or whatever. And basically I was like, it was interesting because I was internal in CPAC, but I
Yeah.
was working for the agency. I almost felt like a double agent because they would like open up to me about things that's going on with the agency, but like I'm actually the agency. And like, it was a very interesting scenario, but I enjoyed it a lot. And, it was cool. It was just a really big scope because they're looking at a national level.
Mhm.
And the first thing I had to do was go in and interview all these different people and start like synthesizing all the information I got into like what matters to all these different stakeholders. Like that
Mhm.
was my first objective, is almost creating a map of like what matters and then kind of pulling it together and like, okay, how can we make change with all these kind of things in the way, let's say.
Mhm.
And when we kind of diagnosed the situation, we realized they had like 26 different content buckets just in this television org, that they had like six original programs that they do every day.
Mhm.
And then they would like pull media from here and pull from here and like all these different things. And then it becomes like, okay, how do you organize 26 different content buckets across Facebook, Instagram, you know, Google, everything. But then also like they also have micro brands within the overarching brand that they have their own channels. So it became a very like complex situation, but it just gave me the tools, you know, seeing it front to back and dealing with that level of complexity, I believe, to then start my own company, because since then I've never dealt with something that complex.
Absolutely. So how'd you kind of make the switch? Like, how did you decide I want to kind of go off on my own? Was it you had a couple clients and the demand was there, or like how'd you make the switch?
So yeah, I had a couple clients. I was still working with the restaurants just as like a side project. I really enjoyed it. It was more of just my passion. Mm-hmm. And it was, I'll be completely transparent with you, it was a really interesting situation. Tony Greco at the time had sold 75% of Greco Fitness, and he was looking to start a marketing agency at the time. And I got connected with him to potentially be part of that org. After a couple conversations with Tony, I kind of realized that he didn't really want to start a marketing agency. He just had all this network that he wanted to somehow monetize. He knew all these business owners and he's really good at marketing, but I realized he didn't want to put in like the time, you know, he put in 22 years to build this, just sold it, like living the dream. And so I kind of came with him to him with a counter. And I was like, look, Tony, like, I think eventually I'm going to start my own thing. Why don't we come up with some sort of agreement where we can help you monetize your network? I can start my own business. Your network will help jumpstart it. You make cash off of it just by making a connection. Mm-hmm. And then we go from there. So for me, once again, the universe, I think, brought Tony into my life, and it was just like pushing me to make that jump.
How cool is that?
It's crazy. It's crazy to look back. In the moment, you never really know. Like, I remember having those conversations with my family, and they were just like, you just met him a week ago. And I'm like, I know, but I don't understand. Like, there's no reason like he would waste his time like dealing with me, right, to like screw me over. Like, I just couldn't see the downside to it. And I was young at the time. Like, I'm still young, but I just like, if it failed, it didn't really matter, you know? So for me, I was like, why not just go for it, right?
I think it's one of those things, like, I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago when we had a chat, but you know, for me, when we started seoplus, it's one of those things that kind of happens, right? It's not like I didn't go in there planning like, oh, I'm going to start seoplus, I'm going to start an SEO agency. It's like things kind of fall into place a little bit, right?
100%. And I think like it's funny in hindsight now, I realize I've always done this in life, but I've only really realized it now, is like, I always would rather fail than regret in everything that I do. I would love to fail publicly and have everyone laugh at me than wonder what if. And I think that is my overarching message for the rest of my life, and kind of the mantra I'll live by is like, if it feels right, go for it, because it's okay to fail. It's beautiful to fail.
Yeah, I mean, the more you fail, the better you get. Because generally, as long as you're not making the same mistakes twice, you'll be okay.
That's exactly right. Because I feel like the only real way to like solidify a lesson is to like go through it, right? You can hear it from people, and some people, you know, read books and really take those lessons and go to town and kill it. But I think for most of us, like, we can read a book, but we still got to go experience it and almost make the mistake for ourselves, even though the book was like, oh, we'll do this. And you're like, oh, let me see, you know, and then you feel it, and then, you know, okay, I don't want to do that again. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very different story living something than just reading it in a book. No doubt.
Exactly.
So you're pretty active on kind of social media. I see you got, you know, good following Instagram. You do a lot of content. You know, what's your approach there? Like, what's your goal there? Is it just kind of sharing content, helping people, building business? Like, what is it?
So I'll kind of lead up to the answer to this question in an interesting way. Once again, like, interesting timing with COVID and everything. When I started my business, and I'm sure you might have experienced the same thing, you just want to get clients as quick as possible, right? You just want to get above water and feel sustainable. And you don't really think about structure and all these different things, right? So for the first, I guess, year and 3 months, I was just, you know, on the ground trying to run as fast as possible and just make as many things happen without much like intent behind the action. And I got to a point where I personally was so busy that now I needed to start delegating, but I was so busy that I didn't even have time to like think about how to start delegating and start doing all those other things. So I was almost caught in like a plateau, right? I can't get any bigger, but I don't have time to do the right things to allow myself to get it. So it was very interesting, and COVID forced me to step back, right? Because I don't know how your business is doing, but I've definitely lost some business. But what that's done is freed up time, right? And I had the lesson through the experience like we were just talking about. And so now I'm building with more intent. I'm thinking a lot about, okay, you know, what types of clients do I want to work with, because I can package it and it'll be a scalable package after I hire people and all these different things now. So it's allowed me to build with intent. And I think what I've also realized is the way that I want to build is by using kind of social media and a personal brand as like top of funnel awareness to then funnel to the agency.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to be my marketing strategy. It's not going to be so much promoting the agency. It's going to be promoting myself. And currently it'll be funneling to the agency in the sense of like, I know what I'm doing in marketing, which here, take free advice. But if you want us to do it, I do have a product that's available.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be my strategy now. And the reason I go with the personal brand is because as a human, people understand that you have a lot of different flavors to you, right? So when you build up your person in the future, you can leverage that for other things, right? If I just built the logo of the agency, if, you know, I want to do something completely different in 10 years, it's like somewhat of a reset. Whereas as a human, if you built up that leverage, you can then just like point it into a different direction, just kind of be the human on top of it again. And it all kind of, it makes sense, right? So I think for me, it's just the investment over the long run in my personal brand will amortize out to be worth a lot more than just a single investment in one asset.
Yeah, it's so important. Are you like, I see you're pretty active on Instagram. I mean, are you really, is Instagram kind of your main platform that you're targeting, or are you any other platforms?
Instagram's my main platform, but right now I'm about to transition heavily into LinkedIn. I'm throwing out a couple testers, but I really like how I don't know if you've seen it on your phone, how they've really redesigned the app to just be a lot more user friendly. It feels like Facebook to me a lot more.
Yeah.
And to me, that alludes to the fact that they're trying to create a content platform, not just like a job connecting platform.
For sure.
Which means that if they want to create a content platform, they're going to give people that post content more exposure to encourage them to post more content, which will then encourage more people to stay on the platform longer. I even noticed I've been using LinkedIn a lot more. I used to look at it maybe once a week. Now I'm on it, you know, once or twice a day.
Yeah.
And I value it a lot more. So for that reason, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that side.
Yeah.
And then also I see Instagram Reels as a huge opportunity. Do you follow Mallory Rowan, local influencer here in Ottawa?
No,
She does like business coaching. She just did something that really impressed me. And I didn't know if it was intentional or if it just happened by accident. I haven't asked her, but she basically hacked Instagram Reels. And I thought it was really fascinating. What she did was she made a reel for a $250 Lululemon giveaway, right?
Right.
But Instagram's always been a locked platform, really, where you only see the people you follow. You only see their stuff, right? It's not like TikTok, or it's not like LinkedIn, or like if somebody likes your thing on LinkedIn, your followers can now see it. It'll say Hayden Cashion liked this.
Yeah.
So there's room for growth. The only place in Instagram used to be the explore page, which was just not used that much, right? Reels is different. Reels is like TikTok within Instagram, right? And so what she did is she posted this giveaway, but in order to enter, you basically had to engage, right? You had to comment and tag 2 people, the classic. You had to go follow her. And then for a bonus, this was smart too. For a bonus, you share it in your story for a bonus entry. And I think that was smart because a lot of people are willing to comment their friends and follow because it's like hidden actions. Public doesn't see that. Yeah. But when you post it on your story, that's way more of like a public, you know, endorsement. Yeah. So I think a lot of people would have been hidden. So the bonus factor behind it allowed it to still happen to some extent without scaring all the people off. So it allowed for the growth.
Yeah.
I also think it was interesting that it was Lululemon because it is almost an appealing to everyone market, right? It's mostly females, but they have a great men's section, young people, older people. Everyone would be excited to some extent about a Lululemon giveaway. And she has enough following that off the bat, she'll get enough engagement to kind of start spiking it on Reels.
Yeah.
And so she posted this giveaway right off the bat, got a lot of engagement, and then it went bananas. I think she got over 11,000 comments, 500,000 views, and 4,000 followers in like 2 days.
That's crazy.
And it made me realize, wow. And the thing about like TikTok versus Instagram is like you can do that on TikTok as well, but the value of a follow on TikTok is so low versus the value of a follow on Instagram. On TikTok, people I follow, I don't even see their content. You know what I mean? Whereas on Instagram, there's still a lot of people spending time in the feed, most of their time in the feed. So once you get that follow, now you really have like their attention.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more valuable on Insta. So I just thought it was a super smart play. Like I said, I don't know if there was intent behind it or she just did a giveaway and it happened, but learned a lot from that.
That's interesting. And it kind of reminds me of, years ago when Facebook was evolving and, the like and share giveaways, right? And we did one for like an iPad years ago, like 2012, and it killed it, like you get all the shares and engagement. But again, long term for us, it wasn't like, there wasn't a stickiness because it was random people that, it wasn't our target audience. They really didn't go anywhere, but you got a lot of action. What I'm curious about, for one with Instagram, I'm not a big fan of the new UI. That's just me maybe, but I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm so agnostic. Like I just know Instagram is studying every little thing, and like I just let them figure that part out. I whatever they do must be working. You know what I mean? I think Reels is a great integration just because of the discoverability. It makes the platform, because I think it was getting stale, but I think it was getting stale because everyone you follow was everyone you followed for a long time, that it was like, okay, like I'm kind of fatigued. Yeah. Then the Reels integration now allows for like randomness to pop up in your face based on things you've shown the algorithm you're interested in. Yeah. So it adds a new flair to it. And then I think with also like the shopping capability, I think that over time will become a beast. I think us as users just aren't used to it yet, but as soon as like you make that first purchase, that tap, and then your card's already loaded up and it just gets shipped, I think we're gonna be like, wow, that will be how we shop. We won't go to Google and look, we'll just go to Instagram shop and quickly scroll.
Yeah, I've seen, I know they're doing all the integrations with Shopify and between the Facebook store and all that stuff. I've just been finding, like, it's because they're releasing all these things at different times. It's so buggy, I find. I don't know if you found the same thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the integration.
Yeah, like I didn't look into it that deeply. That you said it was buggy, I just didn't like notice it, but I'm sure it was super buggy. Yeah. But they'll figure it out. Like they're such a good company.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm curious. Tell me a little bit more. Like when you have a client approach you, what are your first steps when you're kind of doing a discovery? How do you identify their goals? How do you kind of work on a strategy and a plan? What steps do you take?
Yeah, so there's 4 things for me. The first thing I identify is the goal. Like, what's the business metric you want to achieve? Do you want more product sales? Do you want more brand awareness? Do you want leads generated? What is it, right? It's usually something in that realm. Okay, perfect. Sometimes they have multiple goals as well, which is fantastic, but it's about isolating them into singular kind of objectives and building out around each of them. And then the second thing is the audience, right? Okay, this is your goal. You want to sell weddings, or you want to sell phone cases, or whatever it be. Who's the audience underneath it, right? Weddings would be brides, which is pretty simple, but for phone cases, like, you can now position that a million different ways, right? What's the underlying brand? Therefore, who's the audience? So once you have the product and the audience, the goal and the audience, you then create the content. The content's a manifestation of, okay, this is who we're trying to talk to, and this is what we want to happen, right? So if you're a bride that lives in Ottawa, the opening hook should be something along the lines of, are you a bride in Ottawa? Boom, okay, you've hooked them. I'll get into the fourth one, but okay, then you have the content, and then you have the call to action at the end, which is alluding to the goal, right? You should come for a venue tour, swipe up to book your venue, whatever you want, right? What's in the middle of the content is the fourth part, which is the value propositions. So you're a wedding venue, but what makes you different from all the other wedding venues, right? I like to say I build out a list of our value propositions, and then I build out a master list of all the other value propositions of the competitors. Cross-reference the lists to find the ones that you believe they cannot compete on. That should be the value you communicate within the content, right? So, hey, are you a bride in Ottawa? We have the highest rated rustic venue with the largest pool and can seat this many people, XYZ, right? Like whatever the value is, swipe up to book your tour. And that's basically how I see it. Is like the goal, the audience, content's the manifestation, and then the value propositions are the fourth. And that's essentially what I try to assess in the discovery, and then build a strategy around that.
Or spots available, which is probably rare for some of the, well, maybe not right now. Maybe I don't know, maybe right now they're not doing so hot. But.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you, listen, with marketing, there's no guarantees. You can do everything right, set it up, put all the right things, but there's no guarantees you're going to get those conversions. How do you approach failure? Like when a campaign doesn't work, how do you, how do you go back to the client and what do you say?
Um, it's so situational. There's no hard and fast rules. I'm definitely getting better at hedging up front. I think as you get experience, you start to understand what's riskier and what's more like this should work.
Yeah.
And so I love to hedge up front and be like, for instance, a company I work with is like high end meat delivery. Were we talking about this on the phone?
No, we didn't talk about this.
Okay. So it's like very high end specialty meat.
Nice.
And I'm just like, this product is so niche that I just don't know. I'm like, this could be a major hit or could be a major flop. Like we're going to put it out there and the market's going to tell us. And so I just hedged it up front. Like, and basically what I would then build in is a very like short-term contract, because for me personally, like I don't want to lock people into something long-term if it's not going to be producing results, because that's going to be a negative impact on my brand long-term. Right. So I'll be like, let's lock in a short-term, let's test it for this. And if it's doing well, then we'll extend contract. And if it's not, then we won't. And I just kind of be transparent up front with them about like why I believe that.
Yeah.
But there's been instances where, clients aren't happy, and I know it's not really my fault. But if I believe that I've had any level of miscommunication or not hedging enough up front or anything that I feel like I've done in the wrong, I'll usually give them some level of money back based on how big it was. Or sometimes, clients are very understanding with knowing that marketing is a risk, because it 100% is. If it was a math equation, there wouldn't need to be agencies. You just plug in the equation and you're done, right? And so I think for me, I just almost go on situational basis, how I feel, how they've treated me, like a lot of different things, right? Do I want to have leverage with them long term? Do they have a great network and their word carries a lot of weight? So yeah, it's very situational.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think, setting the right expectations from the beginning, not over promising, right? Try to set the expectations as low as possible or, reasonable as possible, then you can over deliver. And I think communication, right? Like being able to communicate throughout, as long as you're keeping them posted, it's not just like a shock a month later when they got nothing. It's like week by week, you're keeping them in, oh, I tried this, I tried that,
Yeah, I had a great example of that recently where we had a short contract, 3 months, to see what would happen. And in month 1, I realized what I was doing was correct in my opinion, but the web experience was like way below industry average based on I could see what was happening. I looked at the benchmarks, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also knew the content was being mailed in from other stuff they did, and it wasn't really contextual to the specific product. So I was like, and I was lucky enough because in month 1, I emailed them about this. And I was like, look, I see a couple issues that I know how to fix it, but I need you guys to support me on this because this is outside of the paid media distributions, right? Crickets. Emailed again. Yeah, we'll do it. And nothing happened for 2 months, right? And then the end of our contract comes up and we have that call. And I know what's coming. Like, I know the results haven't been where we wanted them, but I had 8 emails of like red receipts of like, I did this, I'm trying to like get them to change, and they're not. And luckily enough, the owner was like level-headed and was like, no, you're 100% correct. We have been, not doing what you've been telling us to do. And we understand like where you're coming from. And so hedging up front and being ahead of the ball, not waiting for them to be like, hey, we have an issue. I was like, hey, I was the one that's like, hey, we have an issue. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that kind of saved me, because then they're basically like, okay, for the next month, let's build new content. Let's fix the site. And then let's give it another trial. Right. So it allowed me to have that second chance.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. What's working best for you right now? Like what's your go-to campaign? Is it a Facebook, video campaign? What are you doing? It depends on the client, I know. But.
Oh, you mean like, okay, within the campaign, what's working the best?
In any platform, any certain type of campaign, what's working best? What are you excited about right now?
I find Instagram story ads that are built to be Instagram story ads, convert the best.
You swipe up.
But yeah, the truth is tactically, like, you can do the best work, but if the product and the web experience just aren't there either, it fails. And it's really the product. Like, I would say product carries like 50, 60, 70% of the weight. Like, it's really up there. And then like the distribution, the content, and the website are the other 3 underlying factors. And I've seen it. Like, I've worked with products that are just amazing products. The web sucks, the content's okay, and it crushes. just because all you gotta do is put it in front of the right person. They're like, oh, I want that. I don't care how good the video is and all this stuff. And so I've seen, I find it's products that are either solving a real problem or that are just so out there and weird and different that no one's ever seen it before. And as long as you target people that would potentially be interested in it, they're like, yes, I want that now. So yeah, I find it really comes down to the product. But if we want to go tactically, Instagram stories that are built for stories. And what I mean by that is you don't have, well, you can put a caption in, but you shouldn't. Like, you should build the caption, let's say, into the content. Right. Whatever keywords you want to have popping up and things of that nature should be in the video or in the photo, not like post written in after. It looks sloppy. And I think it communicates a level of value and quality to the end user, right? Because they're used to seeing a lot of story ads that are just mailed in, you know, repurposed content. And so when they see a real one, they automatically go, oh, this company must be really good and the product must be really quality if they're willing to go that extra mile. It's something that it's subconscious. They don't even realize it, but it's like a first impression.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. The ones I mean, I think some of the best ones I've seen are honestly the car companies. Like, what they're doing, it's kind of like a video, but it's, I don't know, the quality of it is, and no matter what platform, it's specifically always like designed for that exact size, you know, like.
Yeah, I was reading a Google posted article today about the auto industry and how quickly it's shifting into like an online buying experience, and how much people are open to the fact of like completely buying the whole thing online. What the hottest search terms are right now. And I think that industry is about to, because it's been the same for like ever, right? It's so, and like I bought my first car a couple of years ago, and it's just like, I hated it because I just felt like everyone was trying to like trick me into certain things, because like I didn't know what they were talking about. You know, luckily I had my dad with me, and he's a car guy, so he was kind of handling it. But I just felt like I could be taken advantage of. And when you're like in the room too, if they use tactics for like people like me who like aren't necessarily going to stand up and be like, get out of my face, like they can really like suppress you and make you like almost scared to leave. Whereas like when you're online, you're safe, right? You can X out the email, not reply, or all these things. So I think it's going to make car companies have to be a lot more like empathetic and connect deeper with their with the other side, and actually provide value, right? Not try to like trick you, because you can then just email the guy from the other car company and be like, this is what he said, and he'll be like, oh, like no. I think it'll be an interesting shift. Yeah,
that's good. Well, there's a company in the States. I think it's insane, but they've blown up in COVID, and it's basically a vending machine for cars. Have you seen this?
No.
It's literally a vending machine. There's like multiple stories, and they have the cars in there, so you buy it online or whatever. But like, you just come and buy it, like pick it up from the vending machine. Google it. It's pretty wild. I couldn't believe this is a thing, but they've blown up into COVID. So.
That's so cool. Now, where the world's going is just so fascinating, but I think it's beautiful because as humans, there's a couple things we really value. I don't know which is above which, but time is one of them. And I think time is the most subconscious. It's the one that we don't all realize how much we value. But like that, it's just saving time, right? For people that don't necessarily care about that car buying experience and specifically what car they buy and all these things, they just want like one that's affordable, one that does what they want, and one that has cup holders. You know what I mean? Like, and then they just go online and it's quick, and then they get it and they're out. I was listening to a podcast today, and like they were talking about voice and Alexa, and what they were showing is like literally in the podcast they turn and go, hey Alexa, buy me soap, and Alexa's like, would you like Dove men's soap? And they're like, yes, and it shipped. And he's like, we just bought soap. He's like, you know what you used to have to do is like go downstairs, get in your car, drive for 5 minutes, go look for soap, go wait in line. Like, we just bought soap. And then the even more interesting one is he was like, hey Alexa, buy me an iPhone charger, I think, or an Apple iPhone charger. I think they even said Apple iPhone charger. And the thing that Alexa pushed up was the Amazon Basics USB charger, right? It wasn't the official Apple charger. And I was like, wow, that's very dangerous. And then right away bought it. And he's like, we just bought soap and a charger in like a minute and a half sitting here. In the middle of our conversation. You know what I mean? It's insane.
It's coming a long way. I was seeing Google has some patents for some technology integration, but it's more around local business. So kind of within chatbot of, booking appointments. I don't know if you saw I think it was a Google Assistant or something like that. And it was all AI, like through whatever, the live chat or whatever, basically, or even it would just completely take care of, booking the appointment, all this kind of stuff, right? Without, even having to go fill out the form or calling them or going in there, you know what I mean? So that's definitely the direction it's going. It's all that automated, technology, which is it's pretty wild.
100%. And like, I think, like, for instance, like if we wanted to set up a call, right? I would just be like, hey, Alexa, set up a call with Brock in the next 14 days, whatever's convenient for him. And then it would just talk to your assistant, find like maybe 3 slots, and then just say, hey, Brock, Hayden wants to chat. Do you want to do this time, or this time? You'd be like, that time. And we're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like our assistants or, virtual assistants are just like taking care of it.
Yeah.
And once again, we just saved a lot of time and headache.
Yeah. Back and forth for a week trying to figure out a time.
Exactly.
What's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur?
Being comfortable with people thinking something when it's not the truth, and not having to prove it's the truth, whether that be outside opinion from just public or whether that be from a client. I think it's just being confident in who you are and knowing your intentions behind your actions. That's what I always look for in people, is like, what was your intent? It's very rare I find that someone has malice when they try to do something negative. A lot of the times they're just hurting or they're in a tough spot. Once you play out those chess moves, it allows you to be empathetic to people and move with like almost just a sense of balance. You never get too high, you never get too low. You're always just kind of in the middle and peaceful. But I think that comes with the awareness of just understanding those outside opinions, like I said, from the public or from clients, are a lot of the times like, it's just they're going through something or they're ill-informed, and you don't necessarily have to combat it. You can embrace it, understand it, and just move on. And I think you got to become really good at that, because the bigger you get, the more it's going to happen. And I feel like if you let that get to you, that becomes your downfall.
It's very important. How do you replenish your energy?
What's that?
How do you replenish your energy? Like, what do you do for fun? How do you stay grounded, stay balanced?
Through conversation, honestly, like intimate one-to-one conversation. I like to go for dinners with people and just learn and just talk. I like to go for coffees or lunches with people, just learn, just talk, just do calls with people. My close friends, I try to have like a really, relaxing, conversation once a week and just spend an hour. I think for me, just like getting outside of the business world and having just like a deep, meaningful connection with someone allows me to just, it almost like fills me back up, and gets me excited. Like even what we're doing right now, like it excites me. It gets me energetic, and I get excited to then go and like do more of the like, tedious tasks.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you do?
Oh, replenish my energy?
Yeah.
For me, it's sports. Like I miss it right now. I mean, but I play in ice hockey right now. That was about it. But I'm a ball hockey guy, and for me, that's like my escape. Like I forget about everything. I don't have stress. I just focus on the game. I'm competitive, so I'm like into it. That for me is my escape.
I love that. But yeah, in the summer, I'll golf a little bit too in the summer. So.
And a good networking opportunity too, because all the business leaders play golf. You got to get
exactly.
good.
Exactly.
It's not so good when you're terrible like me and you're putting balls in the woods, but what's something most people don't know about you?
It's so funny. I got asked this question the other day, and then in hindsight, I was like, "Oh, that should have been my answer," but now I forgot it again. I don't know. Like, I really try to just be my genuine self on social.
Yeah.
So people that see me on social, I think they really get like the 95% of me. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean,
I'm half British. My mom's British.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I think that's challenging. I know as a business owner, I've always been nervous to be too open on social media and stuff like that. Like afraid of saying the wrong thing and upsetting a client or upsetting this. So it's challenging. So like huge props to be able to do that.
You know what's interesting is I've been seeing the world shift into a more vulnerable, empathetic place.
Yeah.
But now I'm feeling it. it's weird. Like I'll be going through social and I'll be like, that's different. That's different. That's different. Like I think with overexposure and then the world also becoming tougher, it's forcing people to like almost show their true colors and allow themselves to take that step to be open publicly.
Yeah.
I really think like the people that were doing the braggadocious stuff in the past will start to actually become shunned by like the masses.
Yeah.
Like the people you looked up to, the pretty influencers who would like flex cash and the rappers that would talk about chains and jewelry and all this type of stuff are no longer going to be who we look up to. I really believe that. And I think that's exciting. And it's funny, it was almost an hour before this call that I was like, I'm about to go all in on that and just be completely open, completely vulnerable, because I really believe like that is where what will be accepted. Like it's my truth, but I think it's also going to align with what will be accepted over the next decade. And so I want to move to where the puck's going.
Yeah, no.
I think it comes to intent, Brock. Like if you have good intent behind your action and you're not disclosing any confidential information about a client, then I think you're scot-free, you know?
Yeah, just taking the step. I got one more question for you, then I'll let the team dig in. I'm sure they have lots of questions.
Yeah, sure.
If you could give you're still young, but if you give your younger self any advice, what would it be? Maybe even 2 years ago.
Just be like commit to being yourself. I think like as you're going through stages of life, you kind of always question like, should I adhere to this or should I mold to that, or should I be a follower of this and all these things. But I think, you know, trusting your gut and trusting yourself is truly the answer. And even if you make mistakes along the way, you're going to learn from them and become a more refined human is how I like to describe it. So I would just tell myself like, yes, keep believing in yourself. Don't question it is probably what I would have said, because I think I would have saved a lot of time of just like wondering, you know, am I doing it right? Let's say.
Nice. Great advice.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions. So anyone, if you have a question, drop it in the chat. I can read it out to you. We already have one from Kara. How has COVID affected your business and how have you been navigating it?
For me, a lot of the local businesses have had to stop services. So I've lost that. Some businesses had to just pivot, which has just been interesting, right? It really shows the colors of an owner when they're willing to basically take their business, break it apart and reimagine it. It shows me that they're a true entrepreneur and just going to win regardless. And then COVID's created winners and losers, right? Some e-commerce stores is just like, this is like, it's not nice to say, but this is like a great opportunity for them, right? And so I've seen the whole gamut, and I've just tried to be empathetic because it allows me to put my head on the pillow at night and feel fantastic. Like when a client comes to me and is like, you know, we can't do it anymore, I don't want to try to convince them to keep doing it. I know that they've thought long and hard about it. And so I want to respect them and just do what's best for them truly. And I think even though this isn't my intent, it will amortize out over the long term of just like, they'll remember that moment of like when they were basically taking money away from me, I said, do it because I want you to be good. You know what I mean? And so that's how COVID has affected my business. But like I said earlier, it's also allowed me to take a step back, reimagine my business, structure it much more better, and start to execute on a model that is scalable.
Yeah. And I think that's really important. I think you'll find, like for me personally, over the years, you know, the end of a campaign or an account is not the end of necessarily the relationship. And when you leave things in good shape, you'd be surprised how many times people will come back, refer someone, they move in a new role, all these things, right? It'll happen quite a bit.
You know, what's fascinating is the clients that stop working with you, not even because of COVID, just because it didn't work out, but then refer you to somebody else. That's where, you know, like, they understand that like it's a two-way street. Like we're not doing magic out here. Like we're trying our best. But B, the intent behind the human wasn't a good place. And I think that's like a real case study.
Absolutely. All right, we got more questions. Sonia, besides your main digital marketing business and clients, do you have any side hustles or creative endeavors?
I just so I have a buddy that worked at Ascent Compliance, which is like a tech solution for big companies,
Yeah.
and he was in sales, and now he's working at SurveyMonkey, same type of thing where he's selling the tech solution. And I basically told him, I was like, if you see an opportunity for like tech at an enterprise level that's would solve a problem that like is consistent across all these different industries, all these different clients or whatever, text me. Because I really think that, you know, assembling a team of engineers and then having me on the marketing side, him on the sales side, and just like putting together that team, all taking equity, all understanding we're going to get a client, then we're going to build it for the client, then it's going to work, and then we're going to all win together, but it will be a long-term play. I really have a fascination with that for some other reason. So I think that potentially could become a side hustle. I'm still waiting on that text from him, but yeah. Other than that, like I genuinely enjoy talking with people and learning about people and doing my best to help them. And sometimes they do their best to help me, whether it's just like personal advice or whether it's networking business opportunities. So outside of work, I just spend a lot of time in DMs talking with people. And I would say that's potentially a side hustle, but it's more just like a passion of mine, I guess.
Nice. Austin, what is one section of marketing that you've not been able to dig into, but would love to learn more about?
Email marketing. Email marketing is so powerful. I've seen case studies where it can increase revenues by 30% just implementing proper email marketing, and it's customers you already own, right? It's just implementing some level of funnel, and I know zero about it, but I know it's super important, and I think that'll be the next kind of product added on as like a side dish to my main product, because I think website is a whole nother world that it would take me a long time to just understand. Same with content, it's a whole nother beast, but I think email marketing, it's close enough to like paid distribution that could be the next one. Yeah.
I mean, we've had clients, when you have a good list, e-commerce, they send it out, all of a sudden you get 25K in sales, you know, stuff like that, where
100%.
There's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Do you know the company Zapier or Zapier?
Yeah, the integrations, yeah.
Are you on their email list for? Oh my God. The way it was so funny. I was thinking today, I was like, if I had like the capacity, I would poach whoever's writing their blogs. They're so good.
Nice.
They're so good. Like they literally tell an incredible story and give like story like examples, but they're selling their product within it. Nice. But like I read the story and I love it. Oh my, it's so good. I'll send you one. You'll really enjoy it.
Use it all? Any Zaps?
Yeah, I use Zaps for Facebook lead gen.
Okay,
so
nice.
Pulling from Facebook and then automating it however they want to do it. Yeah. We try to go to SMS as much as possible.
Nice.
We find the conversion rate's just way higher.
Yeah.
But some businesses just want to keep it on the email.
For sure. Very cool. Lisa, are there any particular verticals you really enjoy working with?
Verticals in terms of like industries?
Industries, yeah, or types of clients, I guess.
I do have a passion for music. So working with music artists is fun, but it's super difficult.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because it's where my heart is, but I almost feel like paid distribution, unless you have a massive budget, is just not the way to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoy working with that. Working with any sort of entrepreneur / founder / owner who has a vision for branding, who understands like building depth and meaningful connection is a real part of the equation to long-term success. That excites me. It's tough when I, have the discovery call and they're like, we want to increase sales by this much in like 60 days. We have no data and yeah, go. We just want to see that. And like, don't worry about the brand. Like just, and it's just like, it's a lot of times not practical, but it's just not smart for long-term like winning. As you build brand, your costs for everything go down. It just takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
And in a world that, in my opinion, is going to get more expensive over time for paid distribution, it's not a smart strategy to be relying on like a machine that you build of just like arbitrage, because once that breaks, I literally have a company that we spent a ton on ads and our account went down and 90% of their business died like that.
Wow.
And it's just like you're relying on a third party to hold your whole company. You know what I mean? Like it's just not smart. And so I get excited when they understand brand, because sometimes when I'm trying to pitch it, it sounds like I'm just trying to cover my ass and create like bullshit of like, you got to build a brand. It takes a while. You just got to keep spending. You know what I mean? But if they get it, yeah, it gets me really
Takes
excited.
years. I think I'm trying to think of someone, what they call the brand. They're basically like a brand is like something about like what people will say about you when you're not in the room, right? And like your experiences and stuff like that.
And like, I always just like compare it to humans, right? I've never met one person for the first time and left and been like, that person is the most connected person to me in my life. It's like, no, it takes time. It takes like people saying things and then watching their actions, right? If you say you're a sustainable company, but then every quarter you do these charitable things and have campaigns where you're just doing amazing, then people are like, oh, I love you.
Yeah.
Right. But that takes time. It has to. It's just it's part of the actual cycle of it. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. I know for us, it's been years, and like, yeah, there's always some, oh, I've heard about you guys. I don't know if they're bullshitting or not. Right? And the music thing actually. So I think last year or 2 years ago, we had these people approach us, and it was to do basically Gucci Mane was trying to do his Canadian tour, right? But
I
they
remember
didn't
that.
know. I guess they had picked it up. They didn't know if it was going to actually happen because they didn't even know he was going to get into the country because of his criminal
That was
record.
the thing. Yeah.
But it was a challenge.
That'll get you.
Because like there was like 10 different basically cities and arenas, but each one had their own like ticketing system and URL and all these limitations. But he actually hooked us up to his main account, which was super cool because he had his 10 million followers or whatever. So that was a kind of cool one. It did end up getting canceled, but
yeah. Was it the country thing?
He actually ended up getting in. It was when the Raps were playing the Bucks. He actually still made it in. He was at the game and stuff like that. But I don't know why they canceled that. Maybe the ticket sales or whatever just didn't work out.
Okay.
But he did get in the country. All right, one from Frank. I appreciate the content you post online. You post about empathy and positivity. So what is the impact you want to make to the world?
I often say it's very cliche, but I think like helping others is my purpose. And I think it will manifest in so many places across my life. Right now, it manifests through the agency, helping clients. The thing that I like about what I do is I can show the tangible impact if we're measuring a return on investment. So it makes me feel really good to know I'm helping. Then on my social media, like I'm young, so I feel like I can relate to young people. I'm doing something that I think a lot of young people aspire to somewhat do, like live on their own terms and build something that they're passionate about. And so I want to, communicate that to people that it's possible and that you can do it, but it's like you have to put in that work and you have to, be kind to people and just like really tell them what I do because I want to inspire and help them and get them to wherever they want to be. And then the third place is just in a very like personal place, right? The close like 10 people in my life, just spending like a lot of time with them and doing whatever I can to help them. Those are the three places manifesting currently. I think long-term there'll be philanthropy where it will manifest. And I think in any company that I build or whatever I decide to do, that will be the common thread throughout it all is just helping others.
That's great. Really good way of looking at things.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Well, I don't see any more questions. So listen, Hayden, awesome conversation. I think it's our third one this month and every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Really enjoyed it.
One of these days we'll meet in person. That'll be crazy.
I know, right? Definitely soon. Here's one from Alex, still hitting the skate parks.
So I know Alex from back in the day, we used to skateboard. I haven't skateboarded in forever. I miss it though. It was the one beautiful thing about skateboarding is like, it's people from all walks of life, all sharing a common interest, but no competition. Like the thing about skateboarding is it's art. So if you do one thing and I do another thing and they do that, and nobody can say what's better than what. Like you can't. Is this painting better than this painting? You can't, right? So it just creates an environment of zero judgment because you actually can't judge each other. Yeah. And then the cost to entry is so low that like people from all walks of life just come together and share in this common bond. So that was one of the best chapters of my life for that. It was just so much happiness and freedom.
That's awesome. Well, you definitely have a good reputation with the people here that know you. So
amazing. I appreciate that.
All right, Hayden. Well, it's nice chatting. Thanks again for everything. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
My pleasure, Brock. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care.